Hello, my name's Sarita and I'm speaking to you today from Soulhenge, and I'm here to help you understand the truth about who you are. Now today, what I wanted to talk to you about is difficult people or challenging people in our lives. What can we do when we are being triggered? And what I mean by being triggered is when you're in the presence of somebody else and you begin to feel what we would label as a detrimental emotion. So something like sadness or anger or frustration or pity or just any of those kind of emotions that really don't make you feel good, where you feel like you're coming out of alignment. And obviously there are 7 billion people on planet Earth and we can't always get along with everybody. And often it's the people that we love the most or the people that we spend the most time with who trigger us the most. And that's because it doesn't matter how much you love somebody. If you're living with people day in and day out, there are going to be aspects of them, their personality or behaviors that they exhibit, which don't resonate with you. And so what happens as human beings, we're very emotive, is we find ourselves being triggered a lot. And what's happened to me lately is I saw the most amazing channeled message by a woman called Roxanne Swainhart. And she was channeling this person, it's not really a person, but somebody who was called Sly. And he had the most incredible take on what to do about challenging people. And if you can go and find Roxanne Swainhart, I really recommend you do, because some of the stuff that she's channeling has been a real eye-opener for me and has answered a lot of questions. So I wanted to share my views on what to do my views on what to do with difficult people in conjunction with what I heard from this channeled message, which I found really profound. And so really, the way to deal with challenging people is to come into a different perspective. And there are 2 things that you really intrinsically, maybe 3, that you really intrinsically need to understand about difficult people. And the first thing that you need to understand is that, as I've explained many times, nothing can come in to your manifested reality unless it is a vibrational match to you. And if you understand that you are creating your reality in every moment, that you're not a victim, that you're a creator, every time somebody triggers you, essentially what they're doing is they're mirroring something within yourself that needs attention, and often they're not, that needs healing or changing. So I'll give you an example. I think of something off the top of my head. If somebody comes into your manifested reality and is really critical of you, then is there a possibility that you might have an inner critic? Or are you critical of other people? Do you judge other people? And basically, there must be a vibrational match coming from within you that you're emitting as a signal for that person to come in and criticize. And if it's triggering you, that is a real pointer that something in you is not in alignment, because this is your universe. I can't speak today. This is your universe. You are creating your reality in every moment. And when you take responsibility for that, you begin to see everything in your external circumstances as a chance to understand yourself better. So that's a prime example. If somebody's triggering you, then really that's a pointer that you've created something in your perceived external circumstance that needs healing within you. Okay, so that's the first thing. You can really see it as a guidance system of something that needs to be healed. So that's the first perspective that you would need to adopt. And what would happen in a scenario like that is that when you healed your inner critic, if that was where that reflection was coming from, or you healed the need to judge others or be critical of others, then what would happen is you would find that that person or people who were criticizing you would simply stop. They would stop being a vibrational match to your inner critic. And so that would dissipate. So that's the first change in perspective, which is going to help you with people who trigger you, with people who are difficult. You can look at them and go, wow, that's interesting. What is it within myself that I need to heal? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that in order to appreciate people who are challenging you, it's worthwhile remembering that every time somebody comes into your now moment as a fellow co-creator, so you're creating your now in every now, and if somebody comes in, if you meet somebody in a new now, so you're co-creating together, and they challenge you or they trigger you, what that actually is it's an opportunity for you to make a choice about your next now. And what I mean by that is, so let's say somebody comes in and they do something that makes you really angry. You have a choice then to go, am I an angry person, or am I going to choose another way? Because your choice in that co-creative moment with them sets up your next now. So if you react to them in anger, what's happening is you're creating your next now in anger. And of course, you're creating your reality. What's going to happen to you in your next now? And really, once you start to see that every single co-creation now with somebody is giving you a choice option for your next now, you begin to perceive that there's a real gift in that. And when you also understand that you're only able to choose your next now because they're on their own road of evolution as well. So for example, if they're on a road of evolution and they've come to a place where they're triggering everyone with anger, and they're at that evolutionary stage where they're working on their anger in a sense, they're expressing their anger, they're being anger, they're creating anger. When you meet them in your co-creative moment, you can either align with that, with the anger, or go, actually, I'm going to choose a different way. And you would never be able to have the option of choosing a different way had they not shown up in their own evolutionary process to give you that choice. And so the thing is that we can only know ourselves by contrast. And the whole point of us being here is to understand ourselves in every now moment and to evolve from that. So every person's own evolution that we are co-creating with gives us a choice option into our next now and at what timeline we're going to make. And so basically, that's a really beautiful thing, because they're just allowing you to choose one thing or not another. Because as humans, we only seem to be able to identify with things in contrast to them. It's like humans rise above their adversity. That's why we're in a dualistic third dimensional, well now fourth and fifth dimensional reality. But basically it's the dualism that is giving us choice options. And we don't need to judge someone's state of their own evolution. They're just showing up to allow us to choose a now moment and change our own evolutionary path. And so basically that's an extraordinary gift. So every single person who comes into your now moment with you, co-creating with you in the now, is giving you a choice. That's a wonderful thing. We have free will and we have choice in every now moment. And as I said in the point before, when you choose a different now, so in other words, you let go of your need to be angry in this situation and you actually choose non-judgment and love, what happens is you begin to choose nows of non-judgment and love, and you go down a completely different timeline and you're evolving. So that's the second change in perspective, which is well worth adopting. And I've been adopting that of late. And I'm really finding that I'm observing my co-creative moments with other people more. I'm observing them, not being drawn into the drama, because I watch something happen and I go, am I aligned with that? Does it resonate with me? Does it make me feel good? If it doesn't, I go, I'm going to choose something else. I'm not going to be anger. I'm going to be love or kindness or whatever I decide the next now moment is going to be. And so when you realize it's a choice option, it's not a personal insult or an attack on you. It's actually them in their own evolution that you can look at. It's just a choice option. And then you go, wow, thanks for the choice option. I choose B. And then, that's really fantastic. And it allows you to be observant and to choose a different timeline. And the last thing that is well worth remembering when it comes to difficult people is, if you start to understand that you cannot change anyone else, that you cannot idealize people in certain ways, that I'm explaining myself really badly. I'm going to start again. If you understand that it's your perspective which is allowing people to come into your life and behave detrimentally to you, then you understand that by changing your perspective, you change the way that people deal with you. And what I mean by that is, let's say you always fight with your brother. Okay, I actually never fight with my brother. I'm just picking that because it's got nothing to do with me. But anyway, let's say you always fight with your brother. So what happens is that every time you come into a new now creative moment with your brother, it's like you come in with the preconception, the perspective that you always fight. And so what shows up in that now moment is that you always fight, because you're creating that now moment together. You're co-creating, and you've arrived into that moment with that perspective. But if you choose to change the perspective, so let's say you don't see your brother for a week or something like that, and you spend the whole week not convincing yourself, but thinking about all the things that you love about your brother and focusing on all the great moments that you've had together. Or just imagine, if you never had great moments, imagining with a higher vibration. So imagining in love that you get on really well. And so what that may do for you is you begin to change your perspective about how they're going to behave. And because it's your reality, the next time you co-create in that moment with your brother, what's going to happen is you're going to come in with a completely different perspective, and they are going to have almost no choice but to be a reflection of that perspective. So if you come in going, we always get on so well, they're going to co-create with you, and it's going to be an entirely different moment. So what's going to happen is either you're going to create an entirely different moment together, and that will facilitate you creating more nows like that of getting on well, or it will be very hard for you to co-create together. Because if you elevate your vibration and your brother insists on staying as a vibrational match to not getting on, and you're in a vibration of love, what's going to happen is you're going to find it hard to meet each other, and probably you'll spend less and less time together. And that is one of the side effects of changing your perspective about people. In most cases, what's going to happen, because you're creating your reality, is they will match you in your new vibration, because elevated vibrations on the whole tend to elevate the vibrations around them, which is always why it's really worthwhile to have an elevated state of being, particularly in a difficult situation. So really, because everything is energy and everything is physics, and everything is things matching up, if they absolutely insist on not meeting you in your higher vibrational state, you will just spend less and less time with them. And that may be sad in one way, but what that's going to do is going to make space for new people who are better vibrational match for you to come in. So that's is my take on how challenging relationships can really help us when we learn to shift our perspective. Because if we take responsibility for our co-creative process with other people, everything begins to change from the inside out. And then your manifested world comes back as a new reflection to your new change on perspective and the relationship. Did I say that out right? Your new world comes back as a manifested, reflected reality on your new perspective. There you go. That's better. Okay, I hope all of that made sense. And I hope that when you come into more challenging relationships with people, that you begin to have a new perspective about that you have choice about how each now moment pans out for you, because that's certainly been the case with me, and I'm watching things change all of the time. So thank you for listening, and if you like this video, then please subscribe, because I put up new videos and meditations every single week. Thanks for listening.